Oh, what a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another edition. I'm trying to change up my intro. Another edition of the Weekly Daily. I'm not starting out this time with the hello, everybody. Hey, everybody, it's Ben, the Weekly Daily. But thanks for being here. It's a very, very chilly day. I know I start out every episode with the weather, and typically, I would apologize, but it was -8 this morning, -8 Fahrenheit, which is negative more than that Celsius, I think. No, yes, I don't know. Do the calculation. It's very cold. We got 4 days in a row here of very, very cold temperatures, all in the negatives. Got a note here from. I'm not going to show it. I don't want to give away my address, but a note sheet of paper the management office brought around to everybody to let us know to run our pipes, to let them drizzle. When it gets really cold, you're supposed to let it drizzle. And you know what? I will usually do that if it's very, very cold, but I haven't had to do it too much. And I did not sleep well last night. And here's why. My bedroom uh, has a bathroom connected to it, but it's a weird. I think this is like an 80s style or something. I don't know. Whatever architect came up with this, you're an idiot. I'm calling you out because my bathroom, uh, there's a separate door from my room into the toilet and shower, but the sink is outside of that space and in the same area as like my bedroom. It's like 7 feet from my bed. So running the water, there's no door that's blocking the sound of the water. I'm just sleeping with water running sound. Wasn't good. And you know what? I was like, I am an adult. That doesn't matter whether you're an adult. It'd probably be easier to be a child and sleep with water in the background. But in my mind, I was like, you know what? It just has to be done so pipes don't burst. So whatever. But I didn't sleep well, not even so much because of the water, but because my neighbors. I don't want them to hear this, but they were pounding around all night last night. It was insane. Not even kidding. Till 5:30 in the bedroom, just walking. I'm like, what are you doing? Did you just take Adderall and pace your apartment? Bunch of psychopaths. So that was very obnoxious. And not only that, so here's the the triple threat that kept me awake last night. So the faucet, the stomping, and then I also ordered a PlayStation 5, guys. I know. Big round of applause for myself. I am going to be addicted to video games again. Thank you so much. I'm 35 years old and I'm returning to my teenage years. I bought a PlayStation 5, got it from Amazon, and its delivery time frame was from 4 to 8 a.m. in that window, which is rare. You usually don't have that as a time frame, but because of that, I kind of was waking up, keeping an eye on the delivery because I didn't want, an expensive electronic unit, A, out in the cold. I don't know that would matter. But B, and most importantly, just sitting in an apartment complex in front of my door for somebody to easily take. Although, again, with it being -8, probably not a lot of people roaming the sidewalks at 6 a.m. But got that in, guys, and I'm excited. If you're not familiar, let me break it down for you. Let me break down my history with video games, and this is where half of the audience is going to cut out, but that's okay. Everybody knows video games. Everybody's heard of the consoles. I am going to give you my history and why I ultimately purchased the PlayStation 5. Let's go back to the 1990s, my childhood. Growing up, I never had a game console early on. And this one is such a nostalgic thought. I was thinking about this the other day of spending the weekend at a friend's place who had a Nintendo or who had a PlayStation, Game Boy. I never played Atari, but GameCube, kind of all the Nintendo 64. Oh man, so fun. I never had the well, I didn't get a PlayStation 1 until I think I was maybe 13 or 14. And then I had a Game Boy before that, a Game Boy Color. So I didn't have much, so I relied on getting invited over to sleepovers. That's why it was such a big deal. When you're not a super popular kid, you're like, oh my goodness, somebody be my friend who has a game console, please. So that was always super fun. I have fond memories of going over to friends' places, having a sleepover, and just playing video games. I mean, it didn't feel like how the phone feels like nowadays, where it's like an addiction thing that's a problem. It felt like a fun, uh, balanced fun, I guess you could say, because we would still, like, a lot of times we were out playing capture the flag or running around in the backyard, just doing a bunch of active stuff. And then when you settle in, you eat dinner afterwards, you get to play some video games for a couple hours. It wasn't like, until later in my life, it wasn't like, hey, we're going to play video games 12 hours a day for every day. Then the balance starts to disappear. That's when things get a little unhealthy. But yeah, so that was always fun. It's fond memories of me going to people's friends' places to do sleepovers and play video games. But my history, I think I was 12 years old. I got a Game Boy Color. I was so excited. Me and my brother both got a Game Boy Color. And if you're not familiar, that's just a little handheld unit. And it was a big deal because they went from regular Game Boy that didn't have color to Game Boy Color that had a little color. It was still very basic, but had the little cartridges that you'd buy. And I think Pokemon and there was like Mario Golf and I don't know. There's a handful of games, but just super fun, super fun. I was so excited, and I'm pretty sure I had the Game Boy Color for like 6 months before I broke it, and it was devastating, so devastating. And if you're not familiar, actually I don't know why I started that sentence with that. You're not familiar. I'm going to tell the story so you can be familiar. What happened to it, the way I broke it is, growing up, I shared a room with my brother, and we had bunk beds. In the bunk beds, I slept on the top bunk. In order to get up there, it had like a little attachable ladder. And back in the 90s, before you had a phone and all this stuff going on, you had to entertain yourself with stuff that you look back on now, and you go, that sounds like a crazy thing that you did for fun. But one of the things that I would do is I would take that ladder, which the ladder was tilted at like a 45, no, yeah, probably not a 45, but it was angled forward and kind of the angle that it would go up against the bed. So on the very bottom, like if you put it onto the ground, the bottom of the ladder, leaned forward. It wasn't like a straight up thing. So what I would do is I would stand on it and allow that ladder to kind of be in a position, but I would hang on it and lean my body back to try to balance and see how long I could stand upright on it. Now, I did that one day, and here's the deal. If you lose balance and let go, because you're pulling back on it and it's already leaning forward, if you let go, it slingshots down to the ground. And that's what happened, and it landed straight on my Game Boy and destroyed it. Such a sad day. I mean, I can't tell you. That's probably top 3 moments of ruining a toy / electronic. I mean, that might be the only time. I've been very lucky and very careful with expensive items like that generally. But this one time, it just had wrong place, wrong time, smashed it. I was devastated, which then meant my brother had a Game Boy. So then I think I probably just watched my younger brother play Game Boy or like beg for him to let me play. It was not a good scenario to be in where you're like, I've lost my Game Boy and now I have to beg my brother for his. But I was kind of used to that in a sense. I grew up with three other siblings, and before getting the Game Boy, I guess we did have a computer, and so we would play. There were a couple computer games we'd play, like I think The Sims, SimCity, uh, the Madden '99. Which now I think about it, these computer games were probably around the same time that I played the Game Boy. So I don't think I had the computer games super early on either. But Roller Coaster Tycoon, those were super fun. But the problem with that was having three siblings, we had limited access to it. It wasn't like free reign. It was like you can play, Saturday morning for a short period of time. So it was like the days before Twitch, but in real life. And if you're not familiar with Twitch, it's a live streaming. People stream themselves playing video games, and people watch that, and people make money from it if they get it. I mean, it's a very big platform. A lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are watching. But this was back in the day when, we'd wake up, you'd run down to the computer, and you go, no, my sister beat me to the computer. So then we would just all watch my sister play The Sims, and be like, oh, she's building a house and got a job. Oh, I wish that was me. But it's still somewhat enjoyable to watch. For some reason. Oh, sorry. Having a little tea here. The throat coat with the slippery elm. But that was, back in the 90s. Started with a Game Boy when I was about 12. Got a PlayStation 1 for Christmas. I don't remember what year, but I think I was around 13, 14. And it was the PlayStation Slim. Or, I think that's what it was called. So PlayStation 1 had been out for a little bit, and then this was like the updated console that was even smaller. I think it was right around maybe when PlayStation 2 came out, to be honest. But had that for a little bit, then got PlayStation 2. Mostly played a lot of sports games, some RPGs, a lot of the story games, very fun, okay? And then what happened when I went to college, I got introduced to Halo. The game Halo, it's a first-person shooter, Master Chief. You guys get it. Some of you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But then I switched over to Xbox. Okay, so Xbox is the Microsoft console. PlayStation is the Sony console. And ever since 2006, I had an Xbox, an Xbox 360, and an Xbox One. So I stuck with Xbox and Microsoft because of Halo, essentially. And, about a week or two ago, I was talking to a buddy. He had gotten the PlayStation 5, and he was talking about, obsessively playing some of the games and stuff. And it got me thinking, feeling some nostalgia towards some of these older games. And I pulled the trigger on buying the PlayStation 5. And like I said, a lot of the nostalgia was these story-based games. So for Xbox and Halo, like I mentioned, with the Microsoft console that I've played on for the last close to 20 years, it's a first-person shooter, which is fun, but also I'm not playing with friends. So the social aspect, with that being gone and just playing the first-person shooter, I feel like it gives me a lot of anxiety, to be honest, because it's one of those things where you play, and if you get killed, you die, and then you respawn, and you come back like in 10 seconds. And that's a cycle where you're like dying every 20 to 30 seconds and then respawning. And mentally, it brings anxiety on me when you're kind of just like, oh, I'm dead. Oh, come on, respawn. Oh, I'm dead again. And I don't know. I found myself not enjoying the way that made me feel. So the nostalgia of the story-based games where it's more a story thing, you're not dying all the time and respawning. You're like, it's got some strategy, it's got some visual graphic art cutscene. It's kind of like you're playing a movie almost. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pull the trigger. Also, here's another reason why I did it. I had a bunch of cash back saved up on my credit card that basically covered the cost of the system, and I was like, you know what? That's basically free money. So I basically got a free PlayStation 5, and excited to. Honestly, I unpacked it and plugged it in and was going through, and I was like, I might not record the podcast. I had to shut it off because I was like, if I spend 5 more minutes on this looking around and downloading games and stuff, I won't do the podcast this week. I'm going to be gone. And yeah, I shut it off and I said, I got to get a lot of stuff done today because I have a show tonight. And about 5 minutes ago, the show producer messaged the group and said, due to the cold temperatures, the brewery has decided to close tonight, so no show. And most of the time, when shows get canceled, it's a bummer. I'll be honest with you, with the temperatures and the PlayStation 5 combined, I was like, yes, dude. Christmas morning. I'm a kid again. We're going to download some games, and we're going to have a good time. So looking forward to that. Looking forward very much to that. I should probably exercise today. I told myself I'd go to the gym. I'm not going to run outside. I ran a couple days ago, and it was 30 degrees, no sun, windy, and I was layered up. I had 2 sets of gloves on my hand. I was layered up, and I was cold. So -8, I was like, I might die, actually, in real life. That might be like a seriously poor decision. So, trying to be a smarter human being. And so, I might go to Planet Fitness. Might go run on the treadmill. We'll see. I might not. I might save it for tomorrow. I've been in a good routine that I don't necessarily want to break, but sometimes when you get a PlayStation 5 in the mail, you don't exercise that day or for the next 6 months, but I'm not going to take off the next 6 months. I will say when I ran on Thursday, I think it was a couple of days ago, I was running and some lady was walking her dogs. And you know what? This is I try not to get aggravated because I'm generally not like a curmudgeon type person, like a Bill Burr who's like, I'm always angry and I ran on these things that I'm angry about, but it's funny. I'm pretty happy-go-lucky, laid back for the most part, but there are certain things that bug me quite a bit, and this is one of them that I'll tell you. I was running. This lady was walking her dogs, and where I run, there's a big sidewalk, and it's like a trail. And the sidewalk is pretty wide. It's not like a sidewalk on a neighborhood street where you're talking about like a couple feet wide. This is like a 10-foot wide sidewalk. I don't even know if you call it trail. Cement trail. I guess you wouldn't call it a sidewalk because it's not like off of a road. It's kind of like through a park and then beside a golf course and then off further than that. But anyways, what really bothers me is when people take up the entire sidewalk like they own it. And this is I'm going to sound pretentious here, but just let me go there for a second, okay? Let me be a little curmudgeon for a second. So a lot of times people will take up the space, and when I'm running, you have to run around them from behind. So I'm sure they can see people coming at them, and then they'll readjust to allow space. But people also come from behind, whether it's runners or people on a bike or people who are just walking quicker than them. And so it feels kind of rude to just take up the whole thing and not be aware, oh, there's other people on this sidewalk. This isn't my personal sidewalk. So that's not a huge deal. It's kind of obnoxious when you have to run off maybe into the weeds for a little bit, or a lot of times I'll just say on your left, and then they're like, oh, well, you see that they're like, I didn't know. They stumble around as if they thought they were walking around on their personal sidewalk. But this time what happened was a lady was walking her dog, two dogs, and the dogs are on their leashes, going every which way, which kind of block the sidewalk, which is more obnoxious to me because then it's not like you can try to run around them, but when these dogs are on these leashes, they can run at you. You can trip over their leash. It can be kind of um, I don't want to say dangerous in the sense of like, oh, I'm in danger, but like it could cause a fall that could not be ideal. So I'm running and I see these dogs and I'm like, please don't run after me and make me trip. And sure enough, one runs at me as I'm passing, and I didn't trip, but it jumped up and bit my leg. And then I did what I had to do, and I karate chopped the dog in the face. No, I did not do that. Fortunately, it was a smaller dog, so it was when I say bite, it bit my leg, but I had like spandex on, like because it was cold, and it didn't puncture the skin. It was just like I think it was a half bite, whatever you would call that. Like I'm scared, but I'm not trying to attack, or I'm attacking, but I'm not trying to injure. I don't know, but either way, it's annoying. I didn't get hurt. I didn't stop, but it's just annoying. Like if you have a pet that's gonna, I'm sure that owner knows that dog, if somebody's close by and that dog gets freaked out, it's like, okay, the dog will get jumpy and snap. I'm sure that was not the first time it's happened. I'm sure the owner is aware of that. And if you have a pet that is snappy and you're in public, then it's your responsibility to maybe be aware of your surroundings and make sure that dog isn't able to get close to people because it's snappy. But this lady, she's just walking and it bites me, and their reactions are so, I mean, they're funny, but they're also just so obnoxious. She's just like, oh, whoops. Whoopsie daisy, my dog bit another person. Sorry about that. And you're just like, yeah, get your dog out of here, man. I tell you what, I grew up with dogs, and I do like dogs, but I am losing my interest in dogs by the day. And when I say that, it's the dog owners. It's dogs that get up in my space because owners don't have proper etiquette or understanding of how to, where and when dogs should be allowed. Okay, obviously Denver's like a very dog friendly place, so people bring them out everywhere, and that's fine. That doesn't really upset me. It's more so when people, same with kids. People will bring out kids or dogs, either or, to a brewery, and they just let them run free. And it's like, that's fine that you have your dog. I don't want your dog coming up, a strange dog coming up, sniffing me, licking me. It's like, I don't know your dog. I don't know if your dog is a rescue, if it had a traumatic history, if it feels threatened by my muscular body tone. I don't know. Um, and so it just gets annoying when dogs are like that. And then, when they bite you, you're like, man, come on. I love a dog as much as anybody else, but not when they're doing that, okay? Get your dog in check. So anyways, that happened. That bothered me. Here's the second thing that bothered me, unrelated to dogs. Happened last night when I was driving home. Also, just want to mention, I'm freezing right now. I cannot tell you, well, I can't tell you. I'm telling you right now. I'm like starting sentences that don't make sense at all, contradicting what I'm saying. I'm like, I cannot tell you how cold it is, but I'm going to talk about it for a couple minutes. I'm about 4 feet from the window here, and the heat's on 70. I've got layers on, and I mean, I can feel the chill. It's you got to battle through, got to battle through. People say podcasting, a lot of people don't talk about the physical strain that you have to go through when you're podcasting. I do it for you guys. I do it for the 4 viewers. Very much appreciate you guys. But anyways, second peeve that grinds my gears. Leave this in the comments. What way do you all like to say peeves? Do you say something that peeves, grinds your gears, something that really irks you? Uh, or do you just go like professional, traditional, just like something that annoys me quite a bit? Something that I do not like. What phrase do you all use? Grinds my gears. I don't know, peeves me off real bad. But I was driving into my apartment complex last night, and there's two entrances. Okay, that you can enter from a main road, uh, and then there's a second entrance, which is like an alleyway. And the alleyway, a lot of people use it still. It's not like a, I guess when I say alleyway, probably the picture in your head that pops up, it's not quite that. It's just like a side entrance would be a better description. Um, and that's closer to the parking lot for my place, so I always enter and exit from this side entrance. And the thing that, I mean, it's already bothered me before. What people do is instead of parking in the parking lot, they'll just, there's apartments closer there. They'll just parallel park right there because it's right beside their house. You're not supposed to park there. It's a pretty narrow area, so when you park there, it kind of messes up the flow of traffic and makes it tough for people coming and going to pass each other. It's like very narrow at that point. So that's already annoying that people are so lazy they can't walk an extra 50 feet and they're like, no, I'm just going to park wherever I want. But last night when I was pulling in, people were, parallel parked there. Again, they're always parallel parked there. But last night I pull in and there was a car beside the parallel parked cars, and then another one going the opposite direction towards me, and they're both stopped there. So there's 3 rows of cars. So there's absolutely no space for me to go. So I pull in and I just stop, and I'm just stopped there. And I thought that maybe the cars were talking to each other. And so I'm not a jerk. I'm not like beeping my horn right away. But also it's like, all right, they see me pull in. They'll move in a second. Well, they did not move in a second. And then I realized that the car in front of me, after about a minute of not moving, I flashed my lights, and nobody's in the car. And then I see somebody up in the apartment come down and walk slowly and come to their car and then take their time getting in. And then eventually they drove off and I was able to go. And I was like, oh my gosh. I wasn't that mad, but just the lack of common sense and etiquette kind of infuriated me. It's like, dude, you just parked your car, blocked the entire side entrance to go in and just do who knows what. It wasn't an Uber driver either. And even if it was an Uber driver, I think the license plate said Mississippi. So look, they're not from the area, but Mississippi has roads too, okay? You should know better. But even if, okay, you want to pop in real quick, he could have driven, I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating, 20 more feet and then parallel parked in that area where I talked about the cars parallel parking anyways. But no, he's like, I need to block the entire road and then just like go do my thing. And yeah, that's one of the few times I've ever flashed my lights. I feel like that's a less intense thing than honking. But part of me was like, what are they doing? When people are so oblivious to common sense and etiquette, if you like flash your lights or honk or kind of like mention something, if it's in, maybe like if somebody cuts in line and they do it like very blatantly and you're like, excuse me, the line's back here. I feel like when people are so oblivious to stuff like that, it's like, oh, I don't know if they're oblivious. Maybe they don't care. And if I say something, they're like the type of person who's ready to rumble, ready to fight. And I'll be honest with you, I was like, I'm ready to fight too. I was like, this really irritated me, and I'll throw down. I'll get beat up on principle. I wasn't actually going to. It was 10 degrees last night. I wasn't trying to get out of my car, but also I was trying to park and get into my apartment, and have a hot tea, and then go to bed. But, what can you do? Some people just don't. I don't get it. I was talking to my roommate about it last night, and he was like, yeah, sometimes I do get road rage. And I don't, it's funny because I never get road rage. I mean, we all get irritated on the road, but I'm not losing sleep or trying to like chase people down or make things dangerous on the road. It's like I very much am aware, as most people should be, as everybody should be, that we are in metal boxes traveling at high rates of speed. I'm not trying to play cat and mouse on a road. That's insane. You know what? If you're a jerk on the road, honestly, I'll just be defensive and be like, I'm going to get away from that maniac. Um, and where people make mistakes that maybe they didn't see you coming as quickly or whatever, and mistakes happen. Hopefully, it's not like a mistake that results in an accident. But if somebody makes you have to hit the brakes a little bit or whatever, you can go, that person, and then it's gone in your head. You move on. You concentrate on the road. But we were going over some road rage incidents, and like I said, I've never really had road rage, but I've had a handful of incidences in my life where somebody got very upset at me, and 2 out of the 3 were not my fault at all, which is so funny when it's not your fault at all, and the other person is ready to fight. And like I said, that's why I like hesitate to honk the horn or do the flashlight when somebody like seems to be very oblivious to something, because it's like I think maybe they're the type of person who wants you to do that, so then it gives them an excuse to be like, I'm gonna beat this person up. But the first time it ever happened, the first memory I have of somebody being very irrational was I was in high school. I was leaving high school probably as a senior, and I was driving like 3 friends. We were leaving, and when you leave high school, just like the same as when you leave a big event or whatever, a lot of people are leaving at the same time. So it's bumper to bumper traffic, and we're just in that bumper to bumper traffic, and some guy in a gas station just, I'm not kidding, he pulls out and just, it's like bumper to bumper traffic, and he just pulls out in front of me as if he's got like a massive gap. So what I had to do is I had to veer off of the road. I had to go off of the road to avoid him hitting me head on, and then come back on. And look, this is a clean podcast. I don't like to talk about dirty things or dirty gestures, but I stuck my middle finger up at that man, okay? I veered off the road, came back on, so I was ahead of him, and I said, say hello to my longest, finger. And I guess that really made him upset, because when we got to the next stoplight, he gets out of his car and starts running towards me. Fortunately, the light went green, and I got out of there. But, I mean, it was weird for so many reasons. A, he ran me off of the road, and then he got offended that I reacted with the middle finger to be like, hey, man, you almost caused an accident. That's insane to me. Second thing, this dude was like 65. I genuinely thought I was going to have to throw hands with the grandpa. I mean, I was 17 at that point. I would have probably lost my one and only fight to a man that was very old. And it's funny too, because like I said, I had 3 other people there. But in high school, a lot of my friend group, nobody was like Mr. Aggressive or anything. So I probably would have gotten beaten up with my 3 friends watching. And anyways, that was frustrating when somebody's just like so stupid like that. But the other 2 examples were in Washington, D.C. And dude, Washington, D.C. is the worst as far as traffic is terrible, but people are drive so aggressively. I think probably as a result of the traffic. If you grow up around that environment, you're just very aggressive, and honking is like a norm and all this stuff. But people drive, I've noticed a lot of friends up in that area, road rage is a thing. And so when I first moved up there, I wasn't even in DC. I'm in the suburbs. I was staying at my sister's place in Sterling, and I was commuting to Fairfax, and it was like a 40-minute drive. And it was right when I got my Honda Fit, which is a stick shift. So I remember just like for like a month, every morning drive, I would not play the radio. I was like full focus. It was literally like not that comfortable. Just for 40 minutes, you're like, please don't stall out. Oh my gosh, we're at a stoplight. There's cars behind me. Don't, just make this car go and don't hit anything. And so I'm going, and I mean, it's fine. Once you get it going, then it's not a big deal. It's more so the starting of it in first gear. But I'm going, and same deal happened. This car was in the right-hand lane. I'm in the left-hand lane. He merges over, was going to hit me, but I honked my horn to alert him. Sir, you are going to hit me. Please return to your lane. And that triggered him into some sort of spiral where for the next 20 minutes, he's driving in front of me, pumping the brakes, going around, like literally playing this game where you're like, this guy must be on, it's 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. And apparently this guy did drugs this morning and is going to work like that. I mean, what kind of mindset do you have to be on the way to work and you almost hit somebody and they honk their horn to go, please don't, I don't want an accident for both of us, And then you just lose it was crazy. But I remember just for 20 minutes trying to avoid, like I was actively trying to avoid. I'm like, you are in the wrong, but I will back off. I'm not. And he's like slowing down to wait for me and stuff. I was like, dude, what is your deal? And then the last one I can remember was also in the DC area, suburbs of DC. But I was going to a Mod Pizza with a friend. Mod Pizza, cool spot. It's a pick your own pizza type place. And I turned from the right-hand lane into the right-hand turning lane, and I guess a guy was coming and had to slow down as I turned in. It wasn't a big deal. Maybe I turned and tried to shoot a gap a little bit quicker than usual. I don't know. But he didn't slam on his brake. He probably just had to hit his brakes a little bit. And so I turn into the Mod Pizza, and he follows me. And I turn into this parking lot, and he zooms around and then zooms in front of me, slams on his brakes, puts his car in park, and gets out of the car. And he just gets out of his car, and he stares at me and my friend. And I just remember looking back at him like, are we about to fight? Like, what world are we in? What world are we in when if somebody else causes you to hit the brakes a little bit, you have to throw fists? That's not what... I don't know what kind of drugs are in the air in the DC area, but that was very much the vibe I got. Didn't like it all that much there. The aggression of people. I was like, get over yourself, dude. Get over yourself, okay? You have oh, cool. You have a BMW car. Also, you have $400,000 in debt. You're a very cool dude. I wish I could be you. Sorry, I'm not cool enough to be someone who is $400,000 in debt and likes to fight young 24-year-olds that drive a Honda Fit. Sorry, man. I was just trying to have. That was in the parking lot of the Mod Pizza. I was so shaken up. We drove off and went to a Mod Pizza in a different town. That's how non-confrontational I am. Pretty sad to say that out loud into a microphone, but that's the reality of it. That's what it is. But yeah, those were some peeves and stories of peeves over the last week and the last 15 years of my life, I guess, 20 years. Going back to high school with that stuff. But I'll go through briefly some of the comedy stuff I've been doing. Like I said, I had a show tonight. Rotating Tap Show is going to host in Parker. Just got canceled. Like I said, not too upset about it. That's okay. It's a good day to hang inside and to enjoy warm heating system in PlayStation 5. So I will do that. But earlier in the week, I've been out quite a bit. Did a couple mics on Monday. Did another mic. What did I do? Monday I did Long Table and Black Shirt Brewing. Tuesday I did Deep Roots. Wednesday I did a show at Ricoli Brewery. A friend of the pod, Ethan Everhart. New show he's running there. Didn't know what to expect. It's in Wheat Ridge, kind of in the suburbs, and the brewery itself was kind of small. It was more of like a bar vibe / setup instead of a kind of more open brewery. It was a pretty small bar type vibe, and there's construction all around. It's kind of a weird getting in and out situation. So one of those where you walk into it and you go, we'll see what happens. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I will do any and every show. I'm not trying to say it in the sense of like, oh gosh, one of these shows, but it was just the setting of a show where you go, this could be good, this could be bad, this could be in the middle. It could be anything. It could be all of the above. But it ended up being very fun. Everybody in there was there to watch and have a good time. There were a couple of people who talked a little bit during a couple of people's set, but ultimately either quieted down or ended up leaving. And that's kind of the main question mark with venues like that, where you go, it's a free show. A lot of these people maybe don't know comedy's going to happen, and maybe they want to talk and don't want to listen. And then it just kind of ruins the vibe of the show, makes it really loud. Other people start talking, and then it just becomes kind of chaotic. But that wasn't the case. Everybody, except, like I mentioned, a couple people that ultimately left, were down to listen. They were there to laugh. It was a fun room, fun lineup. Ended up closing out the show doing, I think I did like 18 minutes. Was supposed to do 15, but Ethan lit me late. He thought I forgot. I told him to give me the light at 11. And he told me afterwards, he goes, I lit you at 13 because I thought you forgot that I was going to give you the light at 11. And I was like, oh no, I asked on purpose. I'm ending on a 4-minute story. And if I'm doing 15, give me that light at 11. So I did about 18, but it was very fun. Trying to close on my clogged toilet story rather than my first party story, which I've been closing on for the last year. It's been a great closer, but I'm switching those two. I'm going to try to open with my old closer, now close with the clogged toilet story. And that was a lot of fun. And then Thursday I went to Vision Quest open mic in Boulder. Friday night, went to Western Sky in Inglewood. And I'm working through some new jokes. I'm excited about them, guys. I'm trying to put some new stories together piece by piece. The newest one being how I kind of got attacked by a person that was very high on drugs. This was a couple years ago at this point, but I went to a parade downtown in Denver, and some lady that was just obviously out of her mind on drugs, for some reason, singled me out. I mean, I'm not kidding you when I tell you there were tens of thousands of people in the street, and this lady was like, but I want to terrorize you specifically. And so she came after, I mean, again, I'm like running away from this person, and she was actively coming for me. So that whole situation, trying to make jokes about that, about parades, about fighting. So we'll see if I can sort that out. That's in the very, very beginning stages. So not sure how that'll end up. Also, was working on a bit about skiing. That might have been last week. Might have talked about that. Working on a therapy bit. Trying to combine, made some changes and working on some bits about working out and stuff. Trying to just collect a lot of older stuff and put those little jokes into bits and chunks and tighten them up. So looking for, I mean, I've said this before, but I'm feeling a lot better mentally, physically, feeling a lot better on stage, a lot more myself. And I'm really excited, genuinely. It's the first time in a long time that I'm gaining that confidence back, and being myself, feeling myself, and feeling the confidence and ability to be like, all right, let's set some stuff up. Let's start headlining some stuff and learning how to do that and feeling confident in the sense of like, yeah, I can go out there and do that and I can give people a good time. Versus the last 6 months to a year, I kind of been up and down with just my diet and all this stuff that had made me mentally kind of, I had plenty of good shows, but also felt a little less confident in a lot of scenarios. So, looking forward to the shows moving forward and setting some stuff up. I've got Uncorked next Wednesday, which will be the day that this comes out. I'm doing the Comedy Fort over the weekend, January 19th and 20th. With I think originally it was supposed to be Caitlin Palufo, but I guess she isn't able to make it, so it's Chloe Radcliffe, I believe, New York comic. So looking forward to that weekend. Got a Don't Tell on the 25th. I've got, can't remember after that. February is looking pretty good. March is looking pretty good. I'm going to start setting up some headlining runs in maybe April, May, and beyond. Looking forward to it. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already, at Ben Dailey Comedy, for dates and just to keep track of that. I'm going to try to start posting a little bit more here and there, clips of comedy stuff. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Like it if you see it. Comment on it. That would help out a lot too. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate you being here. Hope you all are well and safe and warm during the winter months here. And I will see you guys again next week.